be. Now I say worship is about getting, not about giving, because in our minds, we want to make it the other way. We often even say, you might have even heard me say, I try to catch myself and keep myself from saying this, but sometimes it slips out, that we come to worship to give to God. And when I say it, I always give one of, I don't like that, because if you say you come to worship to give to God, who is needy in that scenario? God. And who has deep pockets in that scenario? Me. I have what God needs. Fortunately for God, I'm here to give it to him. And I can even call it worship. But if you go down this list, is that how worship is described as giving to God? Now, certainly there's sacrifices involved, but when you think rightly about the sacrifices, they are making an atonement for sin. David does say it's not right to worship if it doesn't cost him anything, but why? You have to ask yourself why. Is worship costing you something, an end in and of itself, or is the fact that worship costs you something pointing to something bigger that you get from it? And I think it's the latter. What do you get from worship? When we go back to how we began the very beginning tonight, I said that God made you for the purpose of worship. So what you get when you worship is the experience of fulfilling what you were made for. And you were made to magnify the glory of God. You were made to receive the glory of God, to experience and to refract it back to the world, to magnify it. So as the glory leaves you, it becomes more perceptible. Instead of one source of glory into the world, namely God, there becomes lots of sources. God through his word, God through his world, and then God through you. You become little glory machines, little praise machines, worshiping wherever you go, magnifying the glory of God in the world. God is a fountain, and from him comes his goodness, and as you experience it, you are now sharing that with the world. So you're receiving from God the experience of delighting in who he is. That's what you see in here when you see this overarching joy. You have to dispel of the idea that God needs you, because when you believe that God needs you, you elevate yourself in importance. If you think God needs you, you think that there are no rules for worship. Because after all, God should just be grateful that he gets what you give. But the reality is that God has rules for worship because he is the one who is being worshiped. He is not the beggar here. We are the beggars in the worship encounter. And God is philanthropic. God is the one who is generous to us. So we come to receive, and we receive from God the experience and delight of having our sins forgiven, the experience and delight of seeing his faithfulness in our life, and the experience and delight of magnifying and celebrating that. Worship is very much the chance to receive from God. And that's where we get the rules for worship.